Today we'll be taking a look at a nearly indestructible frontline battle machine. Set number 7701, the Grand Titan. This set is Exo-Force at its peak, and may very well be the best set in the entire theme. Let's take a look at the pilot first. Takeshi is the most hot-headed and aggressive fighter of the team, preferring to charge in guns blazing and letting the Grand Titan's armor deal with whatever punishment comes his way.
Just like the Grand Titan, Takeshi is more armored than his peers. The decals on his flak jacket mirror the pauldrons on the Grand Titan, with the ground unit designation on his right and 4 stars on his left.
Takeshi's face print is my favorite from the series. His face doesn't have a happy side and a sad side. He goes from a scowl to a battle cry straight out of Gundam. The green hair, part 53982, is made from the same rubberized plastic as all of the other team members' hair. LEGO actually introduced this softer material specifically for these hair molds. The only set outside of Exo-Force to feature this part is Market Street, where it's used as a head of lettuce. This set was part of the short-lived LEGO Factory theme, a precursor to the modern LEGO Ideas, a series of sets designed entirely by fans.
The Grand Titan is nearly indestructible, which definitely suits Takeshi's style of frontline combat. It has a rugged and heavily armored design, sporting a Gatling gun, missiles, and a huge pincer used to cut battle machines in two. It was the only battle machine in the arsenal powerful enough to repel the striking venom.
Takeshi has a pipe wrench!
Part number 4328 was not originally intended to be a minifigure utensil. It comes from the oft-forgotten Fabuland theme from 1982, along with a few other oddly sized tools. The wrench was the most used of these Fabuland tools, however, even it met its end, with Exo-Force as the last theme to use it before retirement.
Speaking about parts, 47314 was first used in Pearl Light Gray as Toa Matau's weapons from the 4th year of Bionicle. This is the only time it appears in any other color.
The Grand Titan continues the trend of excellent posability in the medium-sized sets. The unique construction of the shoulders and arms uses the older ratchet joint, while the legs use the standard Galador joint assembly. The pauldrons are clamped on with Technic through the missile mounts, cleverly eliminating the problem the Stealth Hunter has with its shoulder missile.
The claw is the only melee weapon with a real function. It actually has a play feature, unlike any of the other battle machines with melee weapons. I also love the Gatling gun. Despite it being the smallest of any of the ranged weapons, it utilizes its parts really well, and it spins. The Grand Titan looks great from nearly every angle, and has solid construction with few gaps. While still lacking when looked at from the back, it's not as barren as some of the other sets. Particularly, adding the parts on the side of the legs goes a long way here. The cockpit design also holds up well. There's no real need to be gentle with it when you're taking Takeshi in and out. All of the bricks are locked down solidly, and I feel as though that's something the other sets might have benefited from.
Looking at the decals on this set, we see a whopping 31 stickers in total. There's all these little warnings on the set for the little minifigures working on it.
I also love the personal touches that Takeshi added, like the tally marks counting his kills on the front of the cockpit.
The claws come with a hilariously unnecessary warning of sharp edges, as well as the first of the 10 kanji on the model. This kanji, Kiba, meaning tusk or fang, actually shows up twice. Much like the dragon wing on Stealth Hunter's thigh, these two kanji, read Ryu Kiba, mean dragon fang.
I love the parallel between the two of them. It makes me wish the Mountain Warrior, the combination model of the two sets, had been named the Dragon Warrior or something like that. Hikari, the kanji for light, is also shared between the two mechs, both to the right of the pilot.
The Gatling gun features 2 stickers, both saying explosive in their respective languages. Read as Bakuhatsu-sei, the third kanji, sei or saga, means sex, gender, or nature on its own, and modifies the compound to mean having the potential to explode, or possessing an explosive nature. Bakuhatsu on its own simply means explosion, and is a compound of baku or bomb and hatsu or discharge. Bakuhatsu and bakudan, also meaning bomb, are relatively common terms.
あいつに渡した黒いケースには強いショックを与えると10秒後には爆発する高性能爆弾も入ってるのさ。
Finally, the Grand Titan features the second of our 3 unit designations. Read as Rikugun Butai, meaning ground force, this designation shares the last 2 kanji with Hikobutai, the designation from the Stealth Hunter. These first 2 kanji mean army or land and force individually, nicely paralleling the Air Force from its sister mech. Together, this shares the same connotation of special forces we mentioned in the Stealth Hunter episode. This isn't a mistake either. The Japanese for special forces, Tokushubutai, is actually part of the Exo-Force logo, behind the English text.
The Grand Titan sits in a unique position, having arguably the most prototype information available out of any set in the theme. The earliest prototype is from when this theme was still called Tsunami. Tsunami was a passion project from a group of mech-loving LEGO designers. Up until now, the LEGO system did not have the parts to support the mechs they wanted to design. They needed 2 key groups of elements, the shape parts introduced in 2002, and the system-compatible Galador joints introduced with the Knights Kingdom 2 theme in 2004.
Their early prototypes ended up in front of art director Christian Faber, the mind who gave us Bionicle. His team was tasked with developing the story for Exo-Force. They settled on humans versus robots as the main conflict, reusing this idea from Cybots. This was a concept theme where robots and humans fought for underground energy crystals.
These 2 prototypes we see in the concept art seem to be the closest to the Grand Titan and the mobile defense tank. We also see a fighter jet, which could have later become the Stealth Wasp. This is also when the power-up tagline was introduced.
However, the Tsunami name would not last forever. When the devastating tsunami of 2004 struck Asia, the theme's original working name was immediately dismissed. Christian's sketch inspired a new working title, Battle Peak.
One of the most unique things to come out of the Battle Peak phase of development were bizarre Tamagotchi-like pods that would house the pilots. Called Battle Cocoons, they were intended to have a rudimentary computer and screen. The idea was that if a battle machine was destroyed, the cocoon would keep the pilot safe and could be hot-swapped into a new machine. A fully functional prototype was even developed. A lot of the concepts that made their way into the final design formed during the Battle Peak era. Unlike the first image, there's no mistaking that this next prototype is the Grand Titan. We see the claw consists of 2 trimmed spears from Takanuva. It's common practice to cut or otherwise modify parts for prototype sets. I think the legs and thighs on this one look even better than what we wound up with.
We do have one more prototype image of the Grand Titan. There are only some slight differences, with the interesting addition of a pair of part 6231s to keep the blades aligned. Without this, in the final model, the claws can get slightly off-center. This was likely removed from the final design to reduce the total number of unique pieces in the set. Additionally, it features the same prototype stickers found in the 2-page spread in the back of the instructions. However, an even earlier set of prototype stickers is visible in an unusual source: the instruction images for the alt build, the Titan Tracker.
So now we get to one of the sets that perfectly encapsulates the issues that I have with several of the alt builds. The Titan Tracker does look kind of neat, but I struggle to see why someone would want to build it over the Grand Titan.
Wait, Jesse, I actually prefer the alt build to the main build.
What?
The Titan Tracker captures my preferred aesthetic of mechs. Less like big metal man suit, more like big metal chicken suit. A man in a Diogenesian sense. Also, I feel better playing with the tracker, as it is less top-heavy and has less focus on the use of ratchet joints, because it doesn't have elbows. To be fair, I also don't really like playing with Galador joints, or ratchet joints in general, but my preference is born from a love of Bionicle.
Well, you'll probably like the second year's sets more than this year's then, because the Galador joints are restricted to the legs for the most part, whereas the arms and upper bodies use slicer joints.
What's a slicer?
Galador joints are rigid and can support a lot more weight than individual slicer joints. An overarching problem with almost all the alt builds is they're forced to use the Galador joint pieces. They make for excellent mechs in the main build, but when you have to make something other than that, you'll often wind up with something worse.
I think we're looking for something different from our LEGO. While you value Galador joints for their rigidity and ability to hold a wide array of static poses, I value slicer joints for their fluidity and ability to play out dynamic action.
Well, anyway, the Titan Tracker holds the unique honor of being the only canon alt build. It shows up, of all places, on the front of the Stealth Hunter box. It's clear that Vito isn't the only one who loves this build. It even shares a lot of similarities with the later Bridgewalker. But we're a long way from the Bridgewalker. The Grand Titan is the face of Exo-Force. When people think of the theme, this is the set that comes to mind.
Putting aside my personal gripes with the light brick and the constraints that it places on a set, I feel as though this set navigates it flawlessly. This is the set the light brick was designed around, and it shows. It exemplifies everything that I love about Exo-Force, and it still stands up against modern designs of today. If I had to pick just one set to get from this theme, or even 2006 in general, this one is it.
You know what, Jesse? I actually think Bionicle is just better than
Jesse has a pipe wrench.
Dun 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 dun.